Thank you all for joining today's webinar on the topic of doing cycle counts. My name is Clark Varnes, and I'm a ERP consultant here at Central Data. We're bringing these informative webinars on a regular basis throughout this year as a value-added benefit to our clients. Next month, on July 13th, we'll present on another topic, using Warehouse Manager. So please watch for the opportunity to register for that session. A few housekeeping items. Please note that we have clients attending today who are on various levels of SXE, Web UI on-premise, and CloudSuite distribution. We will be showing the web user interface only, and we are working in the cloud, which has the latest updates applied each month. This means we are always on the latest version of CloudSuite distribution. We have a fairly large audience today, so the lines will be muted until our Q&A time. But if you have a question, please put it into the chat or questions section of the meeting, as we will be monitoring the chats as they come in. Our presenter today is Tina Rood. Tina started with Central Data as a member of our support team and is now one of our client experience team members as an ERP consultant, helping our clients upgrade and migrate to CloudSuite distribution. She also is our primary IDM forms programmer. Tina trains and consults on all operational facets of our ERP projects. Our second panelist today is Bob Cloutier. Bob is a senior business consultant at Central Data and will be assisting today with the Q&A portion of the webinar. So now I'd like to turn it over to Tina to discuss cycle counts in CSD.
Thank you, Clark. Hello, everybody. I am going to share my screen. Oops, I apologize. I'm not used to GoToMeeting, so I'm a little clunky in it. We've been using Teams forever. Clark, do you have to make me presenter?
Yep.
There we go.
Thank
you. That's okay. We forgot
I'm clunky with it too.
And we're not sure which screen we're going to show either. So let's see here.
I'm seeing inventory counting in CSD.
Oh, that's the wrong one. So we're going to move it over to, we're going to show my cloud here. There we go. Now you can see my CSD?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Hello, everybody. Today we're going to talk about inventory counting in the cloud. A lot of the stuff you're going to see today is also the same and the older versions. I'll kind of point out what I know is new in cloud compared to what you guys are using today. There's a couple things that we can show you. And so we're just going to go get started. The first thing we're going to do is talk about setups. So all of our setups for cycle counting, and when I say cycle counting, I am referring to either cycle or physical. So there's two different options we have for counting in SX. So I'm going to go to ICSD and I'm going to go to my Warehouse 1. We have a tab called Count. So Count tab has our physical count and our cycle count, and this is where we can set up what we want to run for both of our counts. The first thing we look at is print tickets, and this kind of coincides with use ticket numbers. So tickets, count tickets are kind of like a ticket you use to attach to your shelf, your pallet, your product, anything you have that you want to put a ticket on, right? So imagine we're at Kohl's, right? We're at Kohl's department store and the company Regis is going in and they're doing their inventory and they tag everything. You have the option to print out ticket numbers or print tickets to affix to your products. Those can be coincided with the count sheets. You can print them both. So you have your count sheets, you do your count, you put your ticket on and move on to the next part. You always want to make sure you have print count sheets checked. If not, the count sheets will not print when you run the jobs. You have to have this checked. Auto prompt entry. I always check it. I will always say for everybody to check it. If when you're entering your counts, like it's right there, you don't have to say, I want this run number, this ticket number. If you're using ticket numbers, you can just go to your line and enter in your counts. Again, the ticket numbers is used to be with the print tickets. And show expected. So depending on if your company wants to show expected or you have a company that is overseeing your counting, you may want to hide the expected. So a lot of auditors want to do a blind inventory. If they say they want to do a blind inventory, uncheck your show expected. So if you have it checked, you will see the expected count on the count sheets and in the entry screen. So I'm going to mark it as show expected just so I can show you guys, and I will point out where it won't show you when we're there. The same is for cycle count here. Ticket format and sheet format is one. That is the standard format. And if you have any custom, this is where you would add it there. And then we have a couple of options for the range methods. So they default to product. You can put vendor, class, bin, or category, and you can show the additional bin locations. Primary is used when you have warehouse manager set up. And I think Clark said that we're showing warehouse manager on the webinar next month. And so that would bring up some of these things that we're going to see here in the counting, like primary and stuff like that. I'll point out where those are as well. For cycle counting, you get additional bin display. You can either show the bin location or primary if you're using warehouse manager. The last product counted and the last bin counted. So what I like about cycle counting is we can change these two fields and I can count where I want. So let's say I want to count an entire Vidmar, right? We all know what the Vidmar is, the big metal shelf with the pull-out drawers. And I know that the last bin before that is this. So my next one's going to be, let's say, 0100 PC1 and then 100. I could put the last bin before that Vidmar in here, and then it'll start with the first bin location of that Vidmar, or the shelf, or whichever section you want to print. So tomorrow I come back, you know what, I want to print a different shelf. I can come back to ICSD, update the last bin counted, or product, right, the same thing, and then kind of go from there just to see what I want to create my sheets. Now, physical counting, that's a little bit different. I can't really grab the last product counted or the last bin counted, so those are in there. That's really it for ICSD settings. If anyone has any questions, Clark, let me know.
Nothing so far.
Okay, we're going to move on to ICSW. So really there's only one piece of ICSW that has counting, and that is our count required. So if we drill into an ICSW product and we have the general tab, we have the count required. So count required, like if you are shipping a product and you short ship, a lot of times it'll pop that box and it'll say, do you wish to mark as a must count? So this is where the must counts are checked. So you see, if I come in here and edit, I can count it and hit save. So next time I run a physical or a cycle count sheet and I say include must counts, this product will be included. So a good thing is, like, let's say we always have problems with this product and I want to make sure it's getting on, count sheets. Let's count it again. We can just go into ICSW and add a must count to it, and then it'll pick up when we run our forms, our pick tickets. So really that's it. That's an easy one. So let's close out of there. Okay, so there's two different ways we can create count sheets, ICEPP and ICEPC. So PP is your physical count. So this is what we use if we want to do a wall-to-wall. I have a stored job here, so I'm just going to do a copy one time. So we can set it to view and it'll kind of give us a little recap of what we ran. We have lots of ranges here for the physical. We can do it by product range, class, category, vendor, product line. We can do bin locations here. So this isn't a bad way if you want to do like a range, like we were talking about the Vidmar before, you can do a range, or warehouse rank. Let's say you want to count all your high moving stuff. You can do that here as well. Next, we always have to have a warehouse. This is warehouse specific. You can't cross warehouses in a count sheet. Run number 1, I believe, and I'm not going to be quoted on this because they might up it, but usually you have to 999 runs that you can have per warehouse. Once you get to 999, if you do not close them to reuse them, and we'll talk about that when we update, they will keep staying open. Starting ticket number 1, again, if you're not using those tickets, then you don't have to use anything for that. And here is our ticket printer and our count sheet. Since we're not using ticket, I'm going to leave that to view, but I can go ahead and choose a printer here for my count sheets. We're just going to hit cancel. Print products last counted before this date. So products have a last count date. So as long as they made it through a valid cycle count run or a physical count run, and the count was entered and updated, you will have a last counted date for this product. So you can actually put in dates here to print products counted before this date. Let's say your last count, you think you did a lot of cycle counting this year, but you know you missed some that maybe might not have gotten hit since 2021. You can actually put in a date here. You can do 01/31, oops, 21. So I want to see everything counted before that date, or last counted before that date, and that way it'll pick up anything that hasn't been counted in a while. Number of products to count. If you're doing a full physical wall-to-wall, you will put 0 for all. I just have 5 in here just because I wanted to just run a few. Include all order as needed with bin locations, yes or no. Print the long form or the short form. The short form does not include a description, and it's about 1 line. So it'll give you the product and the lots or the cereals, and if you have like quantity expected in there, it should show that as well. So if your users don't really need the description and you want a shorter form, just run it as short. Do you want to print your lots or serial numbers? You can do that as well. Go back up to the right top. Number of ticket copies per product bin. Again, this is if you're using the ticket print. Subtract committed from quantity expected. This is a really critical decision. Choosing yes, SX assumes that everything in the pick stage is removed from the shelf. Choosing no, it assumes that nothing is picked and removed from the shelf. So it kind of depends on when you're cycle counting. If you're cycle counting at night, and you know those pick tickets haven't been pulled yet, you can actually choose no. But most of the time we like to choose yes, because we are going to assume that everything is in the pick stage has been pulled already. And we'll talk about that a little more once we're in the reconciliation part of this. Include must counts. So the kicker here is if you want to count 5 products and you say yes to include must count items and you have 320 must count items, it will print all 320 plus 5. So make sure that when you're just looking for a count sheet of 5, I would probably not include must counts. Now, another cool thing is if you want to, and I'll show you this in the cycle count one, if you say yes here, and well, you could even do it here, but just say 1, you can get a must count sheet, which is kind of nice. If you want to see everything that's out there marked, let's get those taken care of, get them counted, get them updated. And once they're updated, it takes it off the must count. Page break, if you want a page break between building, row, section, or none, you can do it there. I always recommend none. You don't need page breaks. Include DNR products with quantity 0. If you think you have DNR products out there with a bin location that possibly could have a quantity out there, even though it's showing 0 in SX, go ahead and say yes. That way you can do a count, see if there's anything there. If it's not, clear out that bin location, and you know you're good to go in the future. Warehouse manager bin locations, again, this is if you are warehouse manager enabled, and you can use that functionality with the cycle counting. Include stock products with quantity on hand of 0. So that's totally up to you. If you want to count 0 products on the shelf, you can. Enter a list of product categories. If you want to do a product category count, you can. And then warehouse manager unavailable bins, you can do an unavailable count if you're warehouse manage enabled. So we would just go through and then hit next, and then it would create our count sheet and run it. I am going to close out of here, and we're going to go to cycle. So cycle is ICEPC, and I have one saved in here, so I'm just going to copy one time. Again, we can view the first one because that is just the report that's going to print out that says how many things I ran and that kind of stuff and all my options. So warehouse 1, run number 1. I'm using run number 1 because I know that I don't have anything in for run number 1, and I will show you how to look for that next in our next steps. Starting ticket, again, I leave as 1. I'm not going to use that functionality. I am going to print my count sheet to my view so I can show you. I'm going to count 5 products. I'm not going to include the order as needed. I am going to print the short form. Lots of cereals I chose no. 1 number ticket per bin, which is the ticketing system. Reset starting point. So you can reset the starting point in ICSD if you want, or you can start out where it's at. Or you can go to ICSD and hit edit and manipulate that bin location like I showed you before. Or we can put in start product here or here. So this will override what's in ICSD. I'm just going to leave it blank because I want to pull what's in ICSD. I'm always going to have my quantity committed from quantity expected as yes. I'm not going to include must counts because I have no idea how many are here, and I'm sure it's a lot. I don't page break, and I'm not going to look at DNR products, and I'm not warehouse enabled, so I do have it as no. And I am going to continue count if last product in the bin is found. And then there's our warehouse manager again. I'm going to say next here, and I'm going to hit save. And I'm going to open up my context apps because I did send this to view. Go down to my reports here. Okay, so let's open the bottom one first. Okay, so here is a total of 5 products and bins were stored for counting. So that was our first page from the view. And then this should be our count sheets. There we go. Let me make it a little bigger here. So I chose the short form. So again, there is no description, but if you wish to choose long, it would be 2 lines and the description would be on the second line. So I do have my quantity expected here, and my quantity expected column would be blank if I chose to show quantity expected as no. But again, I just wanted to see the quantity expected, so I left it there. And then that's the only thing I have because there was only 5 sheets. So I go out, I count all my parts, and I want to come back and I want to add them to my count. So we're going to go to a screen called ICEPE, count entry. Okay, so this is where you can also go to look to see how many runs you have open. So I'm going to put in warehouse 1 and I'm going to hit the search under run number. I'm going to hit search. So I do have 1 open, and that's the one I just ran. So if you have multiple open, which again, you can have up to 999, this is where you would go choose it or see what's open. Don't recommend having 999 open, but it's easier if you just have 1. And then I'm going to hit search. Here is my 5 products. I do see quantity expected because I chose to view that in my settings. I'm going to come over here. Here is our bin location. Here is our quantity counted. You can see that the entered is not checked because we have not entered a count yet. And then we have our user tickets, which again, we aren't using user tickets, so that is 0. And then anything in here, it's got a vendor product, so it'll show up there as well. So here is where we enter in our count. So once I enter something in, it'll mark it entered. So let's say 0, and we have 5, and we have 6, and we have 5. So we counted a little bit wrong. So as long as this is entered, or this box is marked entered, it will update when we do our updates. If you leave one of these unchecked, so let's say you're like, why would I want to put a 5 here if the quantity expected is 5? If, uh-oh, did you guys lose me?
Nope, that was me that I was lost.
Okay, good.
I'm back now though. Thank you.
Okay, good. Sorry. Okay, so if you have a quantity expected of 5 and a quantity counted of 5, make sure you are entering that quantity counted and updating that entered box. If you don't and you update this run, it will not show you a last count date and it will not show you it was counted. So even though the count is correct, enter that count in. You want to update that last count. Okay, once I have them all entered in, I have a couple of options here. So I'm good with this. Like I double check these. I know they're not there. Or let's say my run was totally correct. We can just go ahead and update it. But I have some wrong. So I'm going to go do recounts. So some of the things we'd want to do recounts for is, let's say we have pig tickets out there. So I know a lot of times you hear people say, well, you can't really do cycle counts if you have pig tickets out there. You can. You do have that option. It just takes a little bit of research. So if I have 0 on this one and I go back and I say, oh, well, there's 2 pick tickets out there. I have 5 on hand, but there's 2 pick tickets in the printed stage. One's for 3 and one's for 2. So I can just go find those pick tickets. Yep, they were pulled, they're being staged, or they were shipped. I'm going to go ahead and know that there was really 5 there and not 0. So it's kind of tricky once you get into those pick. We want to put exactly what is expected. So let's say if there was 5 there and there was a pick ticket for 4, and we know that pick ticket was pulled, and then where's the other one, right? So technically we're missing 1. There's 4 on an order, none in the drawer. Technically we only have 4, right? We want to count everything that's in not shipped or invoiced and on our shelf or being staged from a pull. Does that make sense? It's kind of tricky, but you can do it as long as you just go through and follow your pick tickets and know where your inventory is. So next we can run a, oh, one more thing, sorry. If you want to add a product to account, you can do that as well, or you can export this. Remember, it's a grid, so anything you do in cloud, you can export it. So we're going to add a product to count. Ticket number actually is the line number, so you can leave that. It'll default to the next one because, like I said, I have 5 products, so it's on 6. I can just grab any one here. It'll show me my bin location, and I can put in expected, or I leave it blank, or I can mark it unavailable, but I'm just going to hit save. And now I have a line 6. So line 6 says new part. It has 0, but my entered isn't, so I'm going to go ahead because I did find 1. So I'm going to put a 1 there, and then we're going to be all set. There was, let me see here. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to, we can run a reconciliation if we want, so we can see what the quantity is and see what our differences is. So ICEPR, I have one saved, so I'm going to do a copy one time. I'm just going to view it. So we need our warehouse and our run number, all products, only no if exceptions. So really on this, I leave everything to no. I want to see anything that's a quantity, difference, exception, or amount, or percent. So at least 1 off. All tickets, no, only if missing. Warehouse manager, we're not using. Serial numbers. You can print, sort, include counted quantity by sequence bin. No. So really the only thing I want to see is what's different on my count sheet. That's where we're going to run it for, because if I have 100 or 200 parts, I just want a count sheet of what's different. So let's see here. Go into our reports, open up our reconciliation, and make it a little bigger. Hopefully everyone can see that. And oops, too big. There we go. Okay, so here is our quantity expected. Here is our quantity count difference. And so we can take this, there's the percent, what's different. We get a couple of things on here. It does give us the description now, that kind of thing. There's the amount. So we're 3 off, a net of 3. There's our net amount off, that kind of thing. So you can either go through and do a recount. Let's say I'm like, well, I'm going to go through and recount these because there's no pick tickets for this one and there really should be there. So I go back through and I say, oh, I did find all 8. I just have to go back to my count entry and change it. Change it to 8. There we go. Now again, these are grids. So remember our grids in Cloud, we can personalize them and move them where we want. This is just the default grid. So if we need to move things over and we want to put the quantity, counted here, you can absolutely do that. This is just how mine is set up. Okay, so let's say we didn't get to this cycle count. We have a really long cycle count. It's kind of taken us a couple days and we're like, oh, we kind of sold some stuff. There is a way we can recalculate it. So we're going to go to ICEPQ. And even though I've only run this for 1 day, I'm still going to run it. So we need our warehouse, our run number 1. We always want to subtract quantity committed from expected. And update, yes or no. So this runs it in update mode, yes, or I'm sorry, let's start over. If we want to just run it to update the counts, we can say yes. If we want it just to be a report to see what's different, we can say no. I'm going to say yes, even though I'm pretty sure nothing's going to update because I just ran this. I just wanted to show you what it looked like. Quantity recalculation. And there we go. Nothing was changed. So everything is still the same as we counted it. So we have our count all done. We're all set. We know we found our products. Everything's ready to go. And we need to update it. I'm going to go ahead and close this and this. And then we're going to run update. So update is ICEPU. I have a stored copy out here. I'm going to do a copy one time, set it to view. Okay, so warehouse and our run number. Update yes or no. If you have a run that you ran and you didn't get it done, you only got partial done, you don't have to update it. If you're, let's say, let's just scrap this one, let's redo it later, or we don't want to update the last count dates, we can say update no. If you run a count sheet and you're like, oops, I put 200 instead of 20, you can just go through and update no. And then remove is yes. So we're going to change this one to no because we definitely want to update it. And do we want to remove the count file after updating? So this is where our 999 runs comes in. We can say no, and we can keep those runs out there if we want to see them. If we say no, the count file is completely removed and there's no way to view them anymore in SX. The only thing you're going to view is the sheets you printed and the journal that we're going to create to do the stock adjustments from the counts. I always recommend remove count filing after updating it. If not, once you get up to 999, you're going to have to do this a lot because you can only do one at a time. So if you don't want them, go ahead and just remove them. Post date, you can post whatever date and period you want, and then retain IC bin locations, yes or no. If you have a bin location change, you can enter it into your counts. If you want to retain the bin location, you can say yes. So what that means is if you have a bin location 1 of ABC and you say, well, it's really an ABG. So we're going to change it to ABG. Now, if you say retain bin locations, yes, ABC, so the original bin location is going to move to bin loc 2, and your new bin location is now bin loc 1. If you say no to retain, your original bin location is completely removed and only bin location is updated with your new bin location. So I think this is one of the big new features that maybe some of you in the older GUI versions do not have. I'm going to say no because I didn't change any. Next, and then finish, save. Open up our context apps. And here is our report. Okay, so warehouse run 1, there's our journal. 6 records were processed, 3 corrections posted, 0 errors found. Cleared for reuse. So when we go back now to our ICEPE, if we hit search here, no records found for that warehouse. So we know it's been cleared. And if we hit our little search here, we can see that nothing came up. So that count has been completely removed from the system. If I want to look, let's go look at this product. So if we go to product inquiry, I don't know if the last count date, I know it's on ICIA. I have never looked. Oh yeah, right here, 6/8. So that is our last count date, 6/8 of 2022. Because when we were in ICEPE and we entered that count in and updated that box, it checked that box that it was done, it updates our counts. Let's say you'd made a big count sheet and you only got half entered. Don't worry about it. Get those counts in and update your spreadsheet. The only thing it's going to do for those products that you didn't enter a count is not count it. It'll totally ignore it. So even if you run your update to 0 or to yes, update yes, remove your file, anything that wasn't counted gets ignored. So you have that option. If you have a big run and you just want to get the ones counted, you can do that. But again, it doesn't update anything, so you don't have that last count date. There is a way to change your last count date. You can manipulate it through ICEMB. I'd never recommend anyone going into ICEMB unless they are an admin, but they can update that count date through there if they need to. And then once you run ICEPU, in update mode, you are complete for that cycle count and you are done. If we want to look at our journal, we can go, let's see what our journal number was, 968. And search, and there is our journal. ICEPU is our function. And there is our products. So it's really nice in the reference. So when you see these, you're like, what were these for? Why did we do these? It actually shows you in the reference. So expected 5 of 1-001, 1-008. So it kind of gives you those things in here as well. And then again, there's not really anything you can go see. There's not an inquiry screen for the transactions or the count sheets or anything like that because they were removed. So just know that they're there, and then you can go look at your last count date. Now, one other thing I want to get to, I know a lot of you were, a while ago, I had a webinar for the RF guns, so we can do our counting for the RF guns. Please remember that is still an option. We do have the RF guns available that we can do our counts from. So if I ran a count here, instead of printing the tickets, I can always go into my count entry and enter them as here. And it's real-time updates that ICEPE count and enters them in there. And then you can do that instead of having paper count sheets. And if anybody wants to see this, we can probably have that webinar sent to you if you weren't there for it. But if anyone has any questions, go ahead and ask. That is everything. So now we can open it up to questions, unless you already have some, Clark.
Oh, we had a couple questions that I had Bob answer for me.
Okay.
Just make sure everyone saw the answers. It's if you do a must count, will it stay until you take it off or just until it's counted next?
Counted next.
Yeah.
Comes off.
And another question was wondering if the count required is an option in mass maintenance, and Bob did find that in mass maintenance, so that's good.
Yes, he should have. Yep, I believe that's there.
Another question just came in. Can you explain the pros and cons of the auto prompt entry option in ICSD?
Yeah, it's not a huge deal. Here, I can run one. Let me see. Let's go ahead and take it off. I'm going to log out. I don't know if I need to, but just in case. I actually don't know anyone that doesn't use the auto prompt. The auto prompt is it's nice. And it might only work for tickets, but let's go test it real quick. Just walk through it. So I'm just going to go in and create a little, except I wanted cycle, not physical. There we go. And again, you can set up these counts to be scheduled, so they're always print every morning. Well, it is kind of hard. I guess you can't. The only thing we can't get through is the run number. So you can set them up on a schedule as long as you're clearing out the run number every day, which some people do. There's my run 5. I'm going to leave this as is. Next and save. So let's go to our ICEPE, our warehouse, and our run. So we do 80. Yeah, see, it doesn't do a whole lot with the just entering the counts in the thing. And Bob, I don't know if you're more familiar with it than I am, but really it might be used for only the ticketing piece, but I will find out some more information.
Yeah, I don't know any more than you do.
Yeah, I don't know anyone that uses it, and it might be only for the ticketing.
Okay, so that was a question from Jim Allen, so we'll get that answer to Jim. We can send it to the whole group.
Yep, I'll get it to Jim.
Another question, can you schedule a run through ICEPP?
Yes, like I said, you can schedule the runs. The only thing is, if you schedule the runs, let me get one here. The trick is with the run numbers. And so you can't, I don't think there's anything we can do here to put in a run number other than what we want the run number is. So if you're doing the counts every day and running your update daily, then you can run this on the same run number. If not, you do have to manually go in and put in the different run number. Or let's say you're doing it once a week. So every Monday you want your pick tickets to print out on in your warehouse printer, and that's their tickets they're going to count. They can do that. So you can schedule it for like every Monday, every other day. Again, you just have to make sure that the update is done. And I do not recommend leaving these for very long, more than a day or two, because like I said, once you have those pick tickets and those transfers and stuff coming in, you're going to have to be looking for those products if they're no longer on the shelf. And you know what? And if you want to skip a part because you have too many, pick tickets out there and you're not sure where everything is, just enter the quantity expected as what it is. And then go ahead and mark it as a must count next time and try it again.
So another question, Tina, in ICEPP, is there an auto-fill option to fill in the expected quantities?
The quantities counted? No.
Okay.
That's mostly everybody's biggest complaint is they actually, if you want the last count date and stuff to show up, you do have to put in a count and check that box.
That's all the questions we have at this point, unless somebody has something else, or if they don't want to type it in, you can always unmute and ask. And there's another question. In ICEPC, you can print product labels. How and what size labels?
Oh. For ICEPC, you want to print labels from the guns? I'm not sure.
London, if you just want to unmute yourself, you can answer.
If you have the putty function, there is some, you could do the count entry. You could load barcodes. You could do bin maintenance. There's some things you can do if you have the RF guns. So you can see I have my putty session here, and that is just what the RF gun looks like when you have those. And I think in there you can load, barcodes. So one of the fun pieces is you can do cross-reference barcodes from your vendors' actual barcodes on their products. So when you scan it, it'll tie back to your own product. But I will look for labels. I'm not sure there is any yet.
Yeah, I think I've unmuted you now, London. Sorry, I thought people could do that themselves. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I was just kind of curious if it's something we don't label every product that we have because they already have the item numbers on them, but it would be nice to be able to use it for a shelf label.
Yes. So you can print, if you have cloud, you have access to all the IDM labels, and included in those is the shelf labels and the product labels and all that kind of stuff. And there's a couple different ways you can print the bin location labels too, and the product labels. You can print them for the shelf, or you can print them so you can stick them on every box. If you've got like 6 cases, or let's just say you want one for the shelf, you can just print one from the shelf. Is that kind of what you're looking for?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah, yep, all included in your cloud subscription. So it's very cool. There's lots of different places too. You can print labels now. They just added that last month, I think. So like if you're an ICIA and you're looking up a product, I don't know if we have it set up here, but let's see. Yep, print labels. So there's lots of new print label buttons everywhere in the system if you look for them.
Okay. And I'm just assuming somewhere in there it would tell me a size.
Yeah, so there is standard sizes to all the IDM labels. I think there's around 11 of them for SX, and there's around 30 some for TWL.
Okay.
They're completely customizable, and you can change it to any size you want. So they're defaulted to, the standard size. A lot of them are 2x4, that kind of stuff, but we can absolutely change them.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
That's all the questions I have that are entered.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay.
I think we're all set.
Well, if there are no more questions, then thank you all very much for joining us today, and look for the next month's opportunity to register to come out shortly. If you do have questions that you think of, feel free to send them in, and we're more than happy to answer any questions you have.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Tina. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, I will go ahead and stop the recording.